and welcome to Dustin's Kaleidoscope. I am Dustin, and I have the pleasure of being here today with Mr. Aron L. Rolley Senior. You are a former
specialist at the American Stock Exchange.
Exactly. So thank you so much for being here.
It was my pleasure.
So I wanted you to be on here because I've never had anybody here who was on the exchange, and so I was pretty excited because I worked on the exchange in Chicago, so it's a very rare thing. But since it is a rare thing, if you could give us an idea before you talk about the exchange, just your background before joining the exchange, like what did you?
Oh, you mean starting from high school or before, after that?
Like immediately before you started with the exchange, like what were you doing?
Well, after graduating from high school.
Oh, okay.
My older brother was working at the New York Stock Exchange.
Okay.
And so he said they're hiring over there if you care to, to get a job or try for a job. So I more or less followed him over, and I put an application at the New York, and I put one in at the American Stock Exchange.
Okay.
But the American called me first, so I went to the American. I enjoyed it. It was different. I was in awe of the people, because the faces.
Yeah.
Because I had never been surrounded by so many, I don't know if I can say it, Caucasian people,
Oh, okay.
So it was kind of like overwhelming, so.
Like being you mean in the actual pit?
Right, right on the trading floor.
Okay, okay.
And the yelling, the screaming, but it was exciting,
And so when you started, so you did not join the New York Stock Exchange, but you joined the American Stock Exchange.
Right, they called me first, so I went with.
So what was your position when you started with them?
We were called pages.
Okay.
That nameplate died out, but we were pages back then,
Is that the same as a runner, or is it different?
It's like I think they call them now, or they did call them data clerks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so what, as a page or a data clerk, which is what people would know it as today, what exactly did you have to do?
It's more or less like a run. I would run down and bring the orders to to Merrill, to Bates, or DuPont, or the firms, I would just bring the orders. And they used to come through a tube. They would shoot up through a tube, and we'd open up the tube and take the orders and see where they go, and we'd run down and make sure they got them,
Okay, so you were working for all the firm companies.
At that time, I was working directly with the American Stock Exchange.
Okay.
But I was bringing orders to the firms and the companies on the floor.
Okay. And so so for people who are not familiar with the American, with Amex, the American Stock Exchange, it's only equities or stocks that are sold, or are there other financial instruments sold?
There is
traded, I should say.
There's options, and they had a very small bond market.
Oh, okay.
But very small.
Okay.
Because if you walk by them, you'd miss it because it was so little,
And that's the opposite, because I worked in in Chicago on the bond floors,
and
it was
very small with the bonds.
Okay. Okay. So when you were a page or a data clerk, and you were actually giving the firms the different orders, and these are orders to buy and sell.
Buy and sell, and executed orders that was executed.
Oh,
also.
Okay.
Because you got a little bit of everything coming through there.
Okay.
But we would hurry down because a lot of times it was orders for them to execute.
Okay.
Coming from different companies.
So like a market order, for example.
Right, a market order, exactly. And so we would rush it down because, they look at the time because it would be stamped.
Right.
And if you hesitated, they'll, hey, what's taking so long? And,
Yes, yes.
So you bring it down right away as quick as you could,
And for people who don't know what a market order is, it's just an order that...
It's a buy order or a sell order that had no limit at the time.
Yep. So whenever you were able to place that into that firm's hands, they executed the order at that price. And so
they would execute it when they run out to grab a broker. They had like $2 brokers at that time. They would call it $2. Hurry up, bring this order out. It's a market order.
Okay.
So they would run it out and execute it.
Okay. And so you did that for a while.
I did that for a short while. Right?
Okay. And then what did you do after what was the next step after?
The next step was I guess it was similar, but they brought me right down on the trading floor.
Okay.
We had the booths.
Okay. Oh, yes.
The specialist booths, and I would be inside with the specialist. And it was pretty much the same thing, bringing the orders, but you're right there giving it to the specialists.
Okay.
And they would execute orders themselves.
Okay. And so the difference is that you were actually on the floor as opposed to like getting it from a chute or something.
Right.
And then,
because originally I was in I guess a little area at the top of the stairs, and you would come down and give it to the different companies that was in that area.
Right.
Then later on I got moved right to the floor inside the booths where the specialists were.
Okay.
And I would give the specialists orders, odd lots, and round lots or whatever.
Right. So, okay, so I'm going to take a step back because you and I know exactly what happens, like the whole makeup of like the different pits
Right.
and on the exchange floor. But for people who may not be familiar,
Right.
so the different pits, or I'm assuming that's the same thing that you call them at the Amex, is
Right.
like those are where people like you would take those. You would have the orders to have people, the brokers inside of those pits execute the orders, correct?
Right.
And that means that they would buy and sell. So
Right, exactly.
so if we're looking at a movie like Trading Places for
Right.
that's probably the most famous
Yeah,
one, I
I
think.
liked it.
Yeah. It's so when Eddie Murphy is in the middle of the pit and he's saying stuff, which by the way, that always irks me because I'm like, there's no way you're sitting there smiling. I'm like, that's not your game face when you're in there. But besides that, that's the kind of chaos that's
Right.
happening.
Exactly.
So one question that I was always asked, and I'm going to ask you this, is that when you, as a specialist, when you're looking out on that exchange floor,
Right.
it looks like utter chaos to people who are looking in. Can you explain like can you explain like the method to the madness? Like that broker over there is with this particular firm. Can you explain how you are able to recognize and do what you're supposed to do?
Okay. Well, I might have like 4 or 5 people in the crowd.
Okay.
And right away when they come in, they'll tell me what they have. They'll tell me, I have a buy order and I have a limit.
Okay.
And the others will say, well, I have a sell order,
So you can match them up.
Right, and I'll make a market from there because I'm supposed to make a market. For instance, something selling around $10. One guy is bidding 9 3/4. The other guy is bidding 10 1/4.
Right.
Offering that 10 1/4.
Right.
So you make a market 9 1/4, 10 1/4. And then if something come in between, they would either buy it or sell it, or I just put it on the book and make a better market. I'll make it like 10 1/4, a tighter market, And then I might, see something with the market, selling off, and I might just sell the 10 bid, If it's not mine, if it's someone out in the crowd, I might just sell it myself,
Oh, I see. Okay.
Right.
And so one of the things I think I know I skipped is that in order to be a specialist, you have to take a series of tests, right?
A series of tests.
And you also have to buy a badge or a membership. Is that correct?
Right.
So could you explain like the test that you had to take? Because I think it was a three-hour test or something like
Right.
that. Okay. Can you explain?
It was a couple of days. I think for 2 days I had to go and take tests,
Okay.
It's,
And what are they testing you on?
they're testing on your knowledge of making markets, how you
Okay.
would make a market, certain prices and what we would do if it is, it was not that hard,
Okay.
For someone came in with, just like I was saying, if somebody came in with a 10 bid and somebody came in with a 10 1/4 offer, you make the market 10 1/4,
Right.
But it was a little more, but just pretty much, I guess, about integrity and stuff and recognizing orders and, not trade if, not going beyond I guess, a public order,
Okay. So is this, do you feel like having been a page helped you understand the test and the test questions? Like,
Right.
was it?
It was, because
Okay.
I could see exactly, what was going on, and how they traded outside, you know.
Right, okay. And you also had to buy a membership. So can you explain what that is, or a badge? I don't, depending on the exchange, they have different
Right.
terms for it. But
Well, they make a market, you know, like they like say I think mine sold for like was 26,000.
okay,
That's when things was very slow. People
Okay.
they weren't making too much money at the time on the exchange, and things was very slow. So the bids got lower and lower, and we had a low bid, just like a house. You know, you put a bid in for a house, and you put a low bid in,
right,
and next thing you know, someone sold a low bid, and that was my bid. You know, my was
on the other side.
Yeah.
And so, what does that badge entitle you to do?
it entitled me to be able to trade on the floor, to be a member.
Okay.
After the, you know, you can get the badge, get the seat. Well, they call it a seat. You
Yep,
can get the
yep.
seat, but you couldn't trade until you took the test, until you
Okay.
passed the test.
Okay.
And if you didn't pass the test, you had to redo it. And if you kept failing, you had to keep redoing it.
Right.
And luckily, I passed it without any problems, you know, because I knew it was there. Because at that time when it happened, I was a specialist clerk,
Okay.
and I was more or less doing what a specialist, unofficially doing what a specialist did. You know, I would make markets and different things also.
So you may as well get the badge, get
Right.
buy your, get your seat, and
Right.
then do that. And just for people who don't know, I'm going to put a picture of you up in your. You had your jacket on, and I saw that you have your badge as well. And just so that people know that that's another way that you recognize another member is that like when I was on the floor, we had the first company I worked for had a brown, and,
Right.
and then you have your badge. Like I wasn't a trader, so
Oh, okay.
I did not have. I just had a badge that showed that I worked for the company.
Right.
But your badge would have something on it that would have like maybe your initials or
Well, what it did
something like
have
that.
was the firm. Like each firm had a different number. Like my firm had a badge number 698,
Okay.
and I was 698V, and the senior partner
Yeah.
might have been 698R or but we were all 698s, you know.
Got it. Okay. And so that's just a way for anybody else on the floor to recognize who you are.
Right, and you
and
can
your
tell who you
company.
work for by the number that you had on your badge.
Exactly.
Like Prudential badge would be 30. I remember one anyway. It was number 30, so you knew that was somebody working for Beach, you know.
Right. And so, yeah, and I actually worked for Prudential, and we had the green, in Chicago, you would have the green, the green vest. But, so that's another way that people sort of knew what was going on, like where
Right.
it looked really chaotic from the outside, but you
Right.
knew all those people with the green jackets on were from a particular
Right, you knew
company.
exactly who they were.
And by the same token, we only have a few seconds, so I'm just going to wind this
Oh,
up here.
okay.
By the same token, like if somebody saw your badge, they would know where you were.
Who I
and
worked
they
for,
wanted
what
to-
firm I worked for.
Exactly. So, I want to, the next segment, I would like to talk about your award when we
Okay.
come back. But we'll be right back in a second. But this is Dustin. I am Dustin from Dustin's Kaleidoscope, and we'll be back in one moment.
It's an onion.
Hi, and welcome back to Dustin's Kaleidoscope. I am Dustin, and I have been having a wonderful conversation with Mr. Aron L. Rolley, who is a former specialist at the American
Right.
American Stock
Stock
Exchange.
Exchange.
I don't know why I'm having a tongue twister moment here, but I wanted to start this segment off with this wonderful award that you received in 1977, I believe. Is it?
No, I became a specialist in 1977,
Okay.
and I received the award in 1984.
Okay, so can you tell us why you received the award?
Actually, I received the award for being the first black specialist on Wall Street.
Okay. That's that's
Yeah.
a trailblazer moment. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
there, you paved the path for people like me who I was way in another city and stuff, but you paved the way for people like me to even get on the exchange and feel comfortable enough. So congratulations.
Thank you.
So that's a great award to have. So when you got the award, so first of all, how when I was reading the article, how do they even know this? Like, are they going through and they're saying, wait a second, we just noticed that Mr. Rolley is the first African American, like how does that even come about? Like that they would know this?
Well, they were going to give an award to the first black specialist.
Okay.
And at that time, they thought it was someone else at the New York Stock Exchange.
Oh, I see.
But my older brother, who's deceased now, but he realized, no, my brother was the first black specialist on Wall Street because he was there since November 1977.
Okay.
And so they corrected things at the New York, and they sent me a letter that I was going to receive a award, a certain date,
Okay.
And it was thankful to my brother.
Oh, I see. So it wasn't given in real time. It was years later that
Yes,
they were. Oh,
they
I get
decided
it.
to do that.
Got it. Okay, so then it was easier to
Right,
find
because they were
out.
looking at the first woman and, the first woman trader and different things.
Oh,
And so
wow.
they decided to look at the first black specialist,
Okay.
Then they had to search through the files to see who it was,
Got it. And so where did you go when the award was presented? What was that like?
I guess a little nervous because I had to think what I was going to say when I got out there, and who I was going to thank for the award and different
Right.
things. And I guess I was a little nervous, but I had a friend with me.
And where were you? Where did
At
this
the New
take-
York, I received the award at the New York Stock Exchange.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
I walked over with a celebrity because Melvin Van Peebles, I guess a lot of people don't know the name, but
Oh yeah, we know the name.
he asked if Aaron, can I walk over with you? Can I, go when you got your award?
Right.
And when we went over, everybody knew Melvin,
Right.
hey, Melvin, they're getting his autograph and pushing me aside,
And it was your day.
It was my day, but he made it his day, because he was at the American Stock Exchange just to write a book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but he was a nice guy, very nice guy.
Okay. And so how did they tell you about this? Obviously, you said your older brother knew that they
Informed
were.
them that
Yeah. But so did your brother tell you, or was there like more of an official thing
I
from the
received
stock
the
exchange?
official letter, stating that I would receive the award for being the first black specialist.
Okay. And who was the first person you told after you got that letter?
Well, I guess my wife, my mother,
Okay.
and thank my brother for,
Making sure they got the right
Right.
person. Oh, that's wonderful.
because my brother was my biggest fan all my life,
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's very nice. So once you got the award, were you were still obviously working at the exchange
Right
then?
at the exchange.
And did people treat you differently then? Were they like, "Oh, this is so cool," or did they say we had no idea?
No, I guess they would joke. We said, "Oh, Aaron, you should write a book." I said, "Yeah, right. I'll write a book." But it was a big deal,
Yeah, it's still a big deal. I mean,
But,
it will always be a big deal. Yeah.
But I just did exactly what I did. Trade, did my special and then went home,
Okay, all right. So you're a man of of routine. You're like, okay,
Right.
this is nice, but I'm going to continue doing what I usually do. I wanted to change subjects a little bit because during before we got started, you mentioned that you were in the area on September 11th.
Right, exactly.
And can you explain what you were doing and just
Well,
tell
it was years later. The trading book, the specialist book, had been sold.
okay.
So I started working upstairs in rules and regulations.
Okay.
And that day, I was supposed to have breakfast, a short breakfast at the Winners of the World with one of the groups on the floor. I couldn't stay there for their trade secrets and nothing, but just to have a
Right.
breakfast, because I had mentioned I'd never been up there. So they invited me to come up and because, everybody knew me and, so they invited me up. But I had to go to the bank first, so I'm waiting and waiting to, the line was just so long, and I said, oh, I can't go upstairs, so maybe I'll go another time. So I decided just to go to work, and by the time I got to work, a plane hit the building, and hit the World Trade, and there's papers falling down, burning, and then we got a report it's just a small plane that hit it by accident. So I called my wife and I told her, I said, don't worry, it was just, but then the next time, another plane hit and shook the whole building, and everybody screaming, get downstairs, because we were on the 9th floor at the time. And when we ran downstairs, everything, the smoke was coming in, nobody could breathe, and people were panicking. They were crying, and it got black, pitch black, And so you couldn't call because I went to, what I really wanted to do, I had talked to my wife, but I wanted to call my mother and said, in other words, say goodbye, because I didn't think, we were going to make it, because everything was hitting the building. And people were just panicking. Everybody, grown men, were crying. And so what I did, I went into the members' lounge and just wet a whole lot of napkins. So I started handing it out to different people, I said, might as well be a little comfortable, now that we're going to, see our maker. But then the next thing you know, a big crash blew out the windows, and then they yelled, everybody out the building, everybody. So we ran to the Staten Island ferry, and that took us to Staten Island.
Okay.
But all the guys that I was supposed to have the breakfast with, they, unfortunately, they all got killed that day, and had to be, I guess, one of the saddest days of my life that day, because they were all like good guys,
Right.
And when that day comes, I had to fight back the tears, just thinking about the guys, because it was so sad that day.
Yeah. It's very different for those of us who, like myself, who were not here, not even in New York. It's a very different relationship we have with September 11th, because
Right.
of course we feel very bad, but we don't have that personal, nothing happened personally that we can actually talk about or relate to. So thank you very much for sharing that. Thank you very much. Related to that, you've done so many extraordinary things. You've been a trailblazer. You've experienced a lot of things. And you mentioned earlier, someone asked you whether or not you would actually write a book. Is that something you have ever thought about? Is that something you would consider?
Well, it's crossed my mind because, like you said, I've done so many things in my life, from teaching track, running track, running a qualifying time to maybe get into the Olympics,
You actually qualified, or you helped other people qualify?
I qualified. No, when I qualified, I ran a time that qualified, but I was in the service at the time.
So you are a track athlete as well?
Right.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
But I didn't go. I came home. I was glad to get home after being in the service, and I never pursued it. But I wish I had at times now, But I was just so glad to get home, during the Vietnam era.
Oh, okay. Oh, so were you in? Did you serve in?
No,
Vietnam?
actually, I thought I was going, but I ended up in Okinawa, and my brother, because there was 3 of us, he went to Vietnam,
Okay.
And I always wish I could have traded places with him because it was kind of rough on him when he was in Vietnam.
Okay. So these are some of the so are these some of the things that you would write about if you ever considered writing?
I would just write about pretty much everything.
Okay. So hopefully we'll be able to read that book from you at some point, because I think everybody would be interested in, because you're, just from what you told me and what I've read, you've had such a phenomenal life, and that you've not only done a lot of different things, but you've broken a lot of barriers as well. And, fortunately, recognized for it, which, doesn't
Yeah.
always happen. So we would love to, we would love to,
Yeah, I was
have
even a
more.
track coach for 20 years
Really?
with Maplewood and South Orange Recreation, working with the young kids,
Oh, I did, okay.
because that was a lot of fun.
Did you do that while you were at the exchange?
While I was at the exchange, because a lot of times I had to rush home to get to the kids,
Okay.
because we were at Underhill. I was doing Maplewood first, then South Orange said they didn't have a coach, so they asked me if I would coach the kid. And so I coached the South Orange kids also.
Okay, and so it's because you didn't feel like you had enough to do while you were working at the exchange.
No.
You decided to rush home and also train. Was it like high school and middle school or both?
It was like actually it was like day camp, because I had so many kids, and a lot of them they were young, and you had to have patience with them,
Okay.
and a lot of them were, young kids, and they just wanted to play, but I tried to make it fun for them,
Right.
But a lot of them did well. They went on to get scholarships further up, when they got to high school.
Wow.
And I was proud of a lot of the kids,
That's pretty amazing that you've been able to do both of those things. Like most people when they finish like working on the exchange, then they'll join a hedge fund or create their own. It's not often that people like change directions completely and do something or do at the same time something that's totally different. That's
Right.
not in alignment with what they were doing.
Well, I
initially.
enjoyed working with the kids. But at one time I had too many kids. Was be by myself with 125 kids.
Oh, 100. That was my next question. Wow.
So I had to get a little help. I had my oldest son. He worked with me,
Okay.
and then later on my daughters worked with me. One daughter, my daughter Nicole. She, the one you spoke to.
Oh yes, the one who.
She helped
yes.
me out. So
So you've done a lot in the community.
Right.
We have about 20 seconds left. Is there anything you would like us to know about you that I have not touched on? Or any parting words?
No, I enjoyed the interview. I guess I was, like I said, I was a little disappointed. I won't say their names, but I was disappointed with them for my mother's sake, my parents' sake.
Okay.
I would have been happy for them to see it,
Okay. So hopefully people can now see this interview and get a better understanding of your award, all the things that you have accomplished, and of course being a first. So
Right.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're quite welcome.
And that is it for this episode of Dustin's Kaleidoscope. I am Dustin, and we will see you next time. Thank you so much for being here.
Okay.